Hey everybody, this is Rustin with The Examiner and IdahoMusicScene.com. With us, the legendary, or at least legendary to me, Roger Clyne of the Peacemakers, and of course from the Refreshment, years gone by. One of the reasons I wanted to sit down and talk with you, other than to thank you for so much wonderful music over the years,
process, thank you,
is to I want to allow more people to discover who you are.
We'd like that.
That's always good. Your music, your vision, all that good stuff. Can you take us back and share with us where it sort of all started for you, where maybe that aha moment where you realized music was the path you wanted to take?
Yeah, music was a part of my life ever since I was a kid. I started writing songs just because it was something fun, you know, when I was like 5 or 6. I have copies of them, they're really terrible. But they were fun, you know. Then in high school, I was really shy. I didn't really even speak a word until I was like 20. But there were all these bands, and nobody wanted to sing for them. So I'll do it. I'll get out there and sing. So I started singing for some high school bands. Felt pretty naked without a guitar, and I had piano lessons, but it wasn't a very cool instrument, you know, at the time. Now I wish I had stuck with it, but I slung a guitar around my shoulder just so I wouldn't feel so naked on stage in high school bands, and that led to me exploring it and learning to play other people's songs and then to use it as an instrument for songwriting. Anyway, fast forward, I kept that habit up into college, and it was, you know, actually kept college going probably too long, but to keep, you know, the music possibilities open, because Tempe was rife and with lots of great bands. At the time, the Gin Blossoms were coming out of there. Dead Out Workshop, we got signed to Bleach Atlantic. Spinning Jenny, Swamp Cooler. There were just a ton of great bands. Anyway, I fulfilled all my credits at college, and I was on the track to go to get a scholarship, actually, CSULB in environmental psych, and I just couldn't give it up. I was like, I don't want to give up music for another world. It seemed like I would be learning more and more about less and less, specializing in that field in psychology, whereas music seemed like a much bigger world to explore. And so I made the tough choice, you know. Kind of disappointed my mom at the time, because she helped me through college, and she's an educator. She teaches gifted children. Actually, she's recently retired.
But you had a great story with your father, though, on that when you told him that.
Yeah, I told him. I was in college, and I said the words I used, I believe, said, I think I want to try music. And he said, well, then you've already failed. I said, what, Dad? You know, it kind of stung. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, because you said you think you want to try. I said, just do it. It was very Nike, very Yoda.
Yeah.
I took it to heart and made the decision. That's, you know, I chose the road less traveled by, and it's made all the difference.
Much bigger canvas to work with. And
indeed, you know,
and all that stuff.
It's interesting. The more and more I do music, the less and less I feel like a musician. It's because I learned how much more there is that you can, or that can be expressed through music, and it's so funny, and the world of music just keeps getting bigger and bigger the more I explore it. You know, I just feel like the little traveler on a big globe.
Over the years, you've sort of been compared time and again in some form or another to sort of a Sonoran Springsteen or something like that.
Yeah, I dig that. That's cool.
I've always sort of wondered, because you guys play such great music, very catchy and accessible melodies, lyrics you can relate to and everything. I don't understand why you guys aren't up there with a Springsteen, a Petty, a Mellencamp. Is that something that you guys just an anomaly, or is that something you guys have never really strived for the big stage?
You know, we never. I don't know. We set our goals high. I mean, we're very happy, but we try to stay. We don't want to be satisfied, you know, so you can stay ambitious in your art and your commerce too. No, we'd love to be playing to larger audiences. You know, it would be great to get our music heard by more. It just feels like you're sharing in a more, you know, a more efficient way if more people can have access to it. I don't know what have been the hurdles or the obstacles or the reasons why that we're not bigger. And we all scratch our heads and bust quite a bit. You know, what? You know, like, okay. But we are grateful for what we get to do, and with whom we get to do it. But we don't know why we're not bigger. But we try to remain happy but not necessarily satisfied. So that we're always striving to improve. You know, if we were better songwriters or better performers, who knows? But every single show is an opportunity to do better than the last one. And it can be tough. It can be splitting hairs. But you know, we have post-show reviews in the bus. You know, talk about tempos, transitions, set lists in general, songs, harmonies, all that stuff we review. We do that all the time.
Well, that's the thing.
Try to improve.
Every time I play the music for people, they absolutely love it. You know, such great albums, Americano, and you know, No More Beautiful World's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
So it's just implausible to me, but
we scratch our heads, I guess.
from the Refreshments to now, you guys have always had a lot of wonderful, feel-good, tongue-in-cheek songs, but as you progress, there seems to be more introspection. I think you once said that there's less lampooning with the Peacemakers. Is that a change in vision and values, or just part of the maturation process?
I would say it's likely most of you know, well, kind of all the vision and the values probably follow the maturation process. I think if I were still writing all the songs about chasing skirts and falling down face first in Mexico, it would be fun, but it's not honest anymore. It's not who I am. You know, I've decided to follow different paths of artistry, of citizenship, of husbandry, of fatherhood, and activism, and it's all in there. You know, I used to sing songs about, you know, my heart broken about girls, you know, and now it's about larger, more important things, about injustices and things like that. The trick is keeping it fun, keeping it fresh, and to be buoyant and not burdensome. But that's a good challenge, and try to embrace that.
Well, and right around the time that everything sort of came to an end with the Refreshments, and you had to choose to go on with that name or start a new project or whatnot.
Right.
That was also the time of big change in your life, getting married, having a child. For the
Yeah,
first
for
time.
sure. Yeah, I actually had a child before I got married. All the musicians. Yeah, you know, I took a look at the name of the Refreshments and the subject matter that we were touching, and you know, it's still largely a lot of the themes that go through the Refreshments albums are still in ours. There's just a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say there's less beer. It's a little, it was a little snottier, a little more irreverent, and I actually still really have that in me. I'm kind of a snot, and I like irreverence if properly applied. I just try to keep it a little more focused.
All right. Well, that was a question I was going to ask you later on, but you sort of brought that up. It's because you guys have always been known for sort of that party, carefree atmosphere. You've got your own tequila.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
Do you still, I mean, at this point in your career, in your life, do you still have that party atmosphere feel, or is that dimmed a little bit?
I wouldn't say it's dimmed. Actually, it's tough to. It's managed now. It used to be. Well, before I had any responsibilities, whether it be as a band leader, a businessman, you know, of course, as an artist, a front man, father, all those things. There was time in my schedule to screw around all the time, so you could do it anytime, all the time. Now you have to find the right spot, time and place. But I mean, I still am in a rock and roll band, so we find plenty of time to fit in the reverie.
Well, and of course, you know, you've got family, wife now, and everything. You got
3 kids in high school. What happened? Turned around twice now.
And there it is. I have to ask you about this song. It's one of my all-time favorite songs,
Shoot.
even though it's from one of your more recent albums. Maybe We Should Fall in Love. Share the story behind that song.
Just writing that, I was thinking. I think I was. I always try to keep apprised of social issues, and whatever that was at the time. Excuse me, is I was looking at what institutions were doing to try to fix problems, and I don't remember what they were specifically, but there was just so much division and so much sort of retreat into in-groups and out-groups, us and them. I thought, you know, the one thing we haven't tried, maybe we should fall in love, and so I wrote that song as sort of a policy, you know, as an attempt, and I think it still could work. I mean, a lot of the great religious leaders have said maybe we should fall in love, essentially.
Right.
And
that's the thing. And our focus changes when somebody attacks us like they did directly in you know, 9/11.
Yeah.
Suddenly we all love each other, but as soon as things die down, we're all back to
scrapping.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
but
the trick is to recognize, you know, of life is to recognize this, that we're all one. You know, that this is the big goal is to be one, and the embodiment of love, of the creation, the creative process of the creator.
And one of the things I always loved about that song too, musically, is at the end you've got that chorus ride out where the high happens in the chorus. And Was that just like a last minute thing you thought,
No,
or did you
I
know
was
that all
layering
along?
harmonies. Actually, PH and I. It's a song that almost didn't make the cut because I didn't like the way I didn't like the way I had written the rhythm and the cadence of the tune, and I took it to PH, is what I usually do.
Right.
And he put in that beat, and it just fell into place. And we started playing around once we had the chords down and the first scratch vocal. And he's like, "Man, throw some harmonies on there," and we just kept stacking them. And then I thought it was going to be superfluous. I thought it was going to be kind of too ornate. And then once we took the mix and took those harmonies out, it's like, I really miss them, so we just kept them in.
Yeah, I love that song. That whole album is wonderful, but of course all your albums are wonderful.
Gracias.
Speaking of songs, you've woken up before with songs fully formed in your head. I read,
rare. I wish it happened more.
Yeah, Leaky
because
Little Boat
Leaky
being
Little
one
Boat
of
was
them.
a fully formed tune somehow. It was like germinated in my brain, and I had to jump out of bed to catch it on a tape recorder back in the day when
Right.
tape recorder.
Are there one or two songs that were really difficult for you to write, but now having completed them, they just mean so much more to you? They're more gratifying?
Actually, songwriting is work. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's a labor of love.
Right.
It's great when I can just wake up or finish a song in a day, but that's really, really rare. It's usually the process of putting down what you've got and working on it and working on it and working on it until you can replace what you've got with something better. And then the trick is knowing when to stop, because that can go on forever. What was the original question, though?
Well, is there one or two that you've had to put so much effort into, whether it was mentally, emotionally, whatever, but when the end product was done, they were that much more gratifying to you, and they still are at this point?
I would say, yeah. It was "Today Belongs to the Light" was a difficult song to complete and to write. It's got kind of funny seams to it. It was tough to make sound seamless. Like,
Right.
the artist has his or her sort of liberties, and a lot of times the listener doesn't know what those are, which is good for us because you don't go, why the hell did they do that? But songwriters do. I listen to other songwriters and go, you were taking a risk there. But
That's Roger's tell.
yeah, totally, and we all have those. Yeah, "Today Belongs to the Light." I remember when it took a while to get it right. I went through several different forms until I got it to where I could bring it to the band like that. And then I even think we changed the key. And when everybody got their piece to it, the drums and the guitar and the bass, it was much, much cooler than what I wanted it to be.
Was
Sort of
there
like Costello meets Clash and Marley. I wrote it actually. The first version of it, I thought I was, speaking of getting lucky to have it done that day. I wrote it on February 6th, which was Bob Marley's birthday. And I didn't actually know that until after I had finished it. And I was like, check this out, I got this song. I think I played it for my wife, and she's like, is that done? Shit. No. I went back to the drawing board, and I worked on some more stuff. But it seems apropos to me that it was on Bob Marley's birthday that I wrote that tune.
From the same side, and it's funny, you reminded me of a quote that Billy Joel said. He says, "I hate writing, but I love to have written."
That's totally it. Yeah, because writing, man, when it works, it works great. The one thing I learned more and more, or I experience more and more in writing, is that it's a meditation. I'll find sometimes hours will go by if I'm in the creative flow, and I don't know where they went. Doesn't mean I have anything to show for it. Like sometimes I'll be in my writing room from 5 in the morning till 11, in the morning, and where did those 6 hours go? My coffee got cold, and I was just sitting there scribbling and playing chords over and over, and then maybe making notes on my recorder. But then there are definitely those days where you're like, you have to sit down, and you have to be at your easel for 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever you can do per day, and those hours sometimes creep.
It's so nice though when you look up and like half the day is gone. You're like, wow.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Just had it. I'll come back at some point.
But the other side of that question though was there a song that was maybe emotionally difficult for you to complete that now has more power for you because you were able to get?
Because I got it out. "Winter in Your Heart" was one of those. Yeah. That was a tough one to write. That was a song about a split with a dear friend. And it was tough to write, but after I did, I felt much better. It's good therapy.
Well, and I don't want to steal you too much longer, but I've got just a few more questions.
Well, they haven't started making noise yet,
so we're good. Okay. I spent 7 years in Arizona, and it was hard for me, and maybe it was the time that I got there, because you've lived your whole life there, but just the changes that you've seen and gone through, and then you extrapolate that over society, because I know you have an activist bone in you, and very faith-driven and stuff like that. I wanted to go down and see you in Mexico numerous times. I was terrified I'd either get kidnapped or killed. Having grown up there, what do you make of all the changes that's going? I mean, do you even notice it having lived there this long? Or?
For sure. Arizona right now is quite the experiment. I mean, we're a very multicultural area. You know, the Southwest itself is. I think that we're one of those states that could be progressive, but our leaders somehow are exemplary. They exemplify sort of being stuck in old divisive ideas. And I don't know why we the people in Arizona allow this. It seems that we consistently sort of elect, not to name names, but some of the people we elect blow my mind and how small-minded they can be. Those changes, you know, I work from the inside to try to make those things better. There's a lot of stuff going on in Arizona. We could be a very progressive ecological community. We have a long way to go there. I'm actually really glad I live there, because there are so many things there's so much work to be done. Our education system in Arizona is deplorable. You know, not much better anywhere in the U.S., but in Arizona it's really bad. But my wife and I, and actually my whole family, are really active in all of those things. But I don't know if I answered the question. Regarding Mexico, though, the violence that's portrayed in the media is not. We're not victims of that in Arizona so much. More people are killed by the desert heat and the elements, trying to cross the border to find a new life from Mexico into the Arizona than by far, but exponentially more than anybody has ever heard by drug warfare or you know, the byproducts of the violence there. Actually, in Sonora, and I don't know, I haven't looked at my stats. I have a little thing I go to. Last time we did our Circus Mexicus show, it was true that there had never been a tourist harmed in Sonora, and especially not by drug violence. So, and the state of Sonora is what borders our state of Arizona. But it gets a bad rap for being next to Mexico, and Mexico itself, it definitely has its drug violence problems, and that's incontestable, but they're more isolated than the media would have you believe. Like, I don't throw our party, Circus Mexicus, in Ciudad Juarez. That would be foolish, you know, or even in Monterrey. Puerto Penasco is a very friendly sister city. It's a tourist town.
So a lot of it's hyperbole from the press.
It is. I mean, but that kind of scary violence gets people's attention. The media wants attention. So.
Well, speaking of Circus Maximus, so while we're on it, you guys are going to be doing your annual thing again in July.
Yep.
And I think I said Maximus instead of Mexicus.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
it's Mexicus. Yeah, we named it after the Circus Maximus in Rome. Actually, that was PH named that one. He penned that one. So we were looking for a name for the event. I'm sitting in the Chicago airport. He goes, I don't know. It's behind the scenes. It's chaos. He said, I don't know. It's just always such a circus. It's a Circus Mexicus. That's it. That's it.
Well, and you've combined it into one large event now, because you do the other JJ's thing earlier in the year now. But I heard that this year Brian Blush is going to drop by. You guys going to do sort of a pre-show refreshments thing?
Yeah, something? we're gonna get together and do refreshments tunes before the Peacemakers set on the main stage on Saturday. Yep. Yeah, he and I we got back together. He visited a show of ours. I think it was in Michigan 2 or 3 years ago, and there had been a lot of bad blood, sort of bitterness between us. But when I saw him, I guess I was old enough and we have enough time between us that it doesn't matter. So we hugged it up, and he got his guitar and we played some tunes on stage, and it felt really good. And we were just looking for a good idea for an opener this year, and we reached out to him and he said I'd love to. He's got his own solo project, so he gets to showcase that as well.
Cool,
that'd be fun.
Nice. So a couple more quick things before we get out of here, so you can go get ready and jump on the stage with the guys. You've always been very DIY yourself, but always have this
as you pulled up, I'm fixing the water pump in the bus.
Exactly. And always.
But part of that is we are still scratching our heads like, when was the last time Dirks Bentley was under his bus?
I mean, when you guys started out, though, I mean, everything was very fan-friendly, very social, in the clubs, in the bars and everything, and that's always sort of been your vibe. nowadays everything has to be more DIY with social media and technology and everything.
It does.
How do you relate to that? Because your idea of social networking and stuff was totally different. Do you enjoying that, or is it cumbersome to you to have to keep track of all that stuff?
Oh, I don't mind it at all. It's still interaction, and I don't do it if I feel like it's contrived, or I don't put it on a schedule. There's so many things that go on that I don't keep track of on purpose because I think they're really transitory. Like, there's MySpace, and then there's Facebook, and there's Instagram, and there's Snapchat, and there's Twitter, and there's Pinterest, and those are just the ones that I think are extant right now. They may morph into other things. They may go away, but what will remain is that you can contact people. You can have a person-to-person conversation through those vehicles, and so that's what's important to me. Is not the vehicles themselves, but like being able to make a human connection through the internet, through a digital camera that can capture a moment in an interview with you and me, and we can share it with whomever can watch. So what's important really is the human touch. And it seems sort of ironic that sometimes it comes through a computer, but that's what we've got.
It's almost scary that we've become that, that indecipherable from each other. There's that disconnect, I think, but yet we're still so connected.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's
more
a dichotomy.
connected.
We're so disconnected from each other now, but yet we're more connected than ever.
It is a strange dichotomy. Yeah, I just got this phone, this iPhone, and I railed against it for a while. I didn't want to be that connected,
Right.
all the time. And there's actually kind of a standing rule on the bus. Like, you don't walk into the front lounge out of the bunk area and not say good morning,
Right.
with your head up, because it was driving me crazy that everybody who had these things, and I didn't yet, would walk in to the front lounge, when we wake up in the morning, be doing this.
Already checking the Facebook and everything.
Come on, man, there are human beings in this traveling vessel with you. Say good morning. So I kind of made a fascist move, and I was like, the power is off until you spend 5 minutes of coffee time with us.
There you go. So as I said before we started the interview, I spent a lot of my time interviewing a lot of hard rock and metal bands. One of the questions I usually ask them just for fun is what they listen to that's lighter that might surprise people,
Oh, so you might...
For you, I'm going to sort of reverse that. Are there any heavy bands that sort of
For
appeal
sure,
to you?
and they're probably really old in terms of what's going on out there, because I don't follow heavy metal very much
Right.
now, but back in the day in high school, I totally did. I love old Judas Priest.
Oh, nice.
We were rocking to Accept the other day. Dude, Balls to the Wall, such a great tune, right? What was the dude's name? Udo
Dirkschneider.
There you go, Udo. Every once in a while, it's a guilty pleasure. I really like it. It's we were listening to the Scorpions off of vinyl yesterday.
God, I so miss
Yeah, Love It
vinyl.
versus Sting.
All right, well, it sounds like you got to get up there. So
I gotta go
last
rock
question.
myself. Shoot.
About every 2 years, you guys put out a new album. Anita Cantina came out 2 years ago.
It did, right? Yeah,
So
right about
are we looking at anything new in 2013?
We
What's going
are.
on?
We're doing these Cantina casts, or these broadcasts from different places, and we're trying to work up a new song a month to share. And at the end of this year, we'll compile those tunes and go into the studio. Probably put them out early next year. But we invite everybody to stay tuned and check out what we're doing once a month. We don't have a schedule for it yet because our touring schedule is so weird. But we do. They're both on. I think we have 3 of them. They're on our live stream channel.
Perfect.
There's another thing, live stream. Yeah. There's
Right.
YouTube and live stream.
There's everything.
Yeah, wow.
Roger, thanks
Hey, it
again
was
for
a pleasure.
taking the time. And I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you guys play tonight.
Gracias. Take care.